Hello, welcome back to the Road to October. I'm your host, Ryan Lorenz, and our journey through the history of the Fall Classic. We've just wrapped up the inaugural 1903 World Series, a thrilling beginning to the championship tradition we celebrate today. But if you look ahead in the baseball record books, you'll notice something unusual. In 1904, there is no World Series. No winner, no box scores, no crowning moment. The championship simply didn't happen. But that absence, it's not a blank space in history. In fact, it's one of the most critical turning points in baseball's evolution. Today, we're going to explore why the 1904 season is essential to the story of October baseball. We'll follow the Boston Americans and the New York Giants as they dominate their leagues, examine the political war that erupted between the National and American leagues, and reveal how this conflict ultimately helped shape the future of the World Series itself. This is the story of the championship that never was, and the season that made sure there would always be one. The year is 1904. The United States is changing fast. The Wright brothers have just flown at Kitty Hawk. President Theodore Roosevelt announced a deal to start construction of the Panama Canal. And baseball, it has just completed what many believe would be a yearly spectacle, the World Series. Fans expect a rematch. Newspapers expect drama. Baseball expects progress. What they get instead is a standoff. Let's start in the American League. The Boston Americans, the eventual Red Sox, are fresh off their 1903 triumph. Jimmy Collins returns as player-manager, balancing a third baseman's glove with his strategist mind. Their strengths remain the same, dominant pitching. Once again, Cy Young leads Boston, now 37 years old. Young posts a 26-16 record, a 1.97 ERA, and throws 10 shutouts. Behind him is Bill Dineen, the star of the 1903 World Series, who turns in 23 wins with a 2.20 ERA. The bats are quieter this season, but steady. Buck Freeman leads the team with 84 RBIs, the best of the team. Chick Stahl continues to create havoc on the bases, hitting 19 triples. And shortstop Freddie Parent anchors the defense and leads the team in steals. It isn't easy, though. The New York Highlanders, featuring Kid Eberfield and Jack Cresbo, push Boston hard in the pennant race. But down the stretch, Boston's pitching depth proves decisive. They finish 95-59, securing the AL pennant by 1.5 games. Boston is ready to defend their title in front of passionate fans hungry for another championship. Over in the National League, in Manhattan, a juggernaut is emerging. Playing its home games at the storied Polo Grounds, the New York Giants have built what might be the greatest pitching duo the game has ever seen. Christy Mathewson, just 23 years old, delivers one of the finest seasons in baseball history. 33 wins, a 2.03 ERA, 4 shutouts, 212 strikeouts. Alongside him is Ironman John McGinty. In his age 33 season, he outperforms Mathewson across many statistics. 35 wins, leading all of baseball, a 9.6 WAR, a 1.61 ERA, 9 shutouts, and 408 innings pitched. Together, they win 68 games, more than some entire pitching staffs. Offensively, the Giants rely on timely hitting, not power, which is scarce in the dead ball era. George Brown scored 99 runs. Bill Dolan knocked in 80, leading the league. Dan McGann led the team with 6 home runs. This team doesn't need huge numbers. They pitch, field, and execute. The Giants finish with an astounding 106-47 record. That's a .693 winning percentage, which still stands today as one of the best in National League history. They aren't just champions, they're ready to prove they're champions. Or so the fans think. And here's where trouble begins. Despite the success of the 1903 World Series, relations between the leagues remains tense. The National League, older and established, sees the American League as an upstart challenger, poaching players, cities, and credibility. The key figures are Van Johnson, the AL president, who was determined to make his league equal. John McGraw, the fiery Giants manager, fiercely loyal to the National League. John T. Brush, the Giants owner, who shared McGraw's disdain. Their stance is simple. The National League does not acknowledge the American League as a peer. Brush stated during spring training of 1904, there will never be a series between the New York-based teams when offered the chance to play the New York Highlanders of the American League. Brush later reiterated his position of not playing the opposing league when, in July, that if his team won the pennant, they would not play the American League pennant winner. McGraw, who previously managed in the AL and left after a bitter conflict with Ban Johnson, is in no mood for friendly cooperation. He makes that crystal clear when he publicly declares, "There is more honor in finishing second in the National League than being champions of the American League." No negotiations, no pretense. The Giants refuse to play the Boston Americans. The fans are furious. The newspapers rage. Why have two champions if there is no championship? The New York press blames McGraw, calling the decision arrogant. Boston's papers accuse Giants of cowardice, running from a fight. And the fans, they feel cheated. The season ends with no closure. Baseball is a sport built on finality. 9 innings, 3 outs, 1 champion. The absence stings. So what would this series look like? Picture this. At the Polo Grounds, Mathewson stands poised on the mound, commanding with his famous fadeaway pitch. Across the diamond, Cy Young readies himself to fire back with his fastball and pinpoint control. Two of the greatest pitchers ever facing off on baseball's biggest stage. Instead of speculation, we should have real memories from that battle. But the games were never played. The outcry from the fans, teams, and media forced the National League leadership to rethink its stance. Even Brush, who led the refusal, realizes the decision is harming the sport. So he proposes a solution: a formal, mandatory championship series governed by written rules. Those rules, known as the Brush Rules, establish guaranteed participation by both league champions, defined revenue sharing, standard format and scheduling, player compensation safeguards, and they take effect the very next year. The result? The World Series becomes an annual institution, permanent, credible, unavoidable. Because of 1904, baseball vowed never to withhold its ultimate prize again. The 1904 season might not appear in World Series lists, but it altered the trajectory of baseball history. It ensured that when October arrives, fans know exactly what they're waiting for: a conclusion to the baseball season between the best of the best. Out of a conflict came clarity. Out of disappointment came tradition. The championship that never was made sure that going forward, there would always be one. Thank you for listening to The Road to October. Soon we'll head into the 1905 season, where Christy Mathewson, after being denied the chance to pitch on the sport's biggest stage, finally gets his moment. And what he does there will go down as one of the most dominant postseason performances in baseball history. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow baseball fan as we continue to explore the road that built October glory. I'm Ryan Lorenz. Thank you for listening.